hello, everyone, and welcome to the Beyonding podcast. Let's get into it. There are some people who are deep wells, who
Mhm.
have sage wisdom, whose presence brings a gravity to a room that can be felt. People who, when you are in their presence, you grow, you transform, you see things differently and become a better person. And that is who Radiah Rhodes is.
Mm.
Radiah Rhodes, if you have not had the pleasure of experiencing her, she is the CEO of Evok, a visionary, a well-being activist, human transformation thought leader, and someone who not only do both Myra and I get the pleasure of working with, doing our big capital W work in the world, but that I also get to call soul sister
Mm.
and feel like my life has been better since she entered. So
Mm.
welcome, Radiah Rhodes.
It's the best bio ever, and it's very mutual. Ditto, ditto, ditto. Thank you. That was a gift. Let's go. I'm like,
Mm.
okay, let me live into that. I'm gonna live into
Mm,
all of
mm,
that in this
mm.
conversation.
Was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
What is something that you are excited about coming into this conversation? What has happened in the past weeks? What's something
I
that's
mean, it's a lot going on. That's phenomenal. First of all, I feel like I just keep smiling because I'm with y'all. I'm just, I can't stop smiling. So that's a beautiful thing. As my mother would say, it's a beautiful
mm,
thing. Um,
mm,
But there's a lot going on. It's summer. The weather is weathering. It's my favorite time of the year. The family is flourishing. We're clearing out a lot of spaces. Got a new deep freezer delivered,
mm,
an upright joint, so I can see,
Mm.
what is in the freezer. We found some things in emptying the old freezer. And it
That's a
was
whole metaphor. Like I feel like that could be,
okay. The
listen,
things that are on the bottom of the freezer.
yeah, that
and
you
the
don't
funny
see all
part
the time.
is that it's so obvious that an upright freezer is easier to manage and keep the flow of food fresh and all that. But we had the down, whatever you call that, the deep freezer, the regular one that's like a chest.
Hmm.
Because that's what my grandmother got,
Yeah,
Right.
right?
yeah.
And it was
My
like,
grandmother had one.
see, and I can't see what's
Mhm.
in it, and so we laughed about that as we were pulling things out. We were like, is this seasoned chicken from when? Like, well, it makes a whole lot of sense to have it be upright, but here
Yeah.
we are, unpacking this chest of frozen food. But so yeah, that was this morning. Working on some tech things that are exciting. I get to talk to y'all today. I could go on and on about what's
Mhm.
exciting in so many different ways. So a lot happening. That feels good.
Yeah, so good. Like the deep freezer analogy. My grandmother had one too,
Uh-huh.
right? And what I heard you say just now is sometimes we do things because we saw
Mhm.
someone else do it.
That's it.
We may not question it. We may not say, is this the most efficient use of, my time, my day? Does this actually accomplish what I need it to accomplish? Like
Right.
there's so many things that can come out of that actually I think tie well into this word that I think about when I think about Radiah Rhodes and this word sovereign.
Oh, it's my favorite word.
Sovereign.
One of my favorite words. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to let you tell the people what that word means to you.
I like to keep it simple. So it is just having the supreme authority and power to determine who you are and how you want to live your life.
Mm, mm. It sounds simple, Radiah.
Yeah. It's simple.
But
Make it.
why isn't everyone sovereign? If it's so simple, why isn't everyone sovereign?
We're not aware. So we're not conscious. We're conditioned more so. When we become conscious, we realize we've been conditioned for so many years. So
Mm,
we're born sovereign,
mm,
right? We're born sovereign.
mm.
Babies cry because they want what they want. Like babies just, be who they are and do what they do in the world, their world is created. And then conditioning comes in, and we start to mold our behaviors, and we start to form, our perspectives and perceptions, unconsciously, subconsciously. And before we know it, we're on autopilot in how we're operating. And then oftentimes, at least let me say in my experience, becoming conscious, like kind of that first piercing of the bubble, is so painful. It was, it came through a painful experience. So it's not painful in and of itself, but it came for me through a painful experience. And so I just didn't even know. I didn't even know that I didn't know what, how to be sovereign. So I think we don't know. We're conditioned. We're on autopilot. These are the reasons why we're not sovereign. And then we know, if you know, right? It's that kind of thing. At some point, we have this reckoning moment, the dark night of the soul, like whatever we want to call it, where now we get a taste of what it means to be conscious. Like, oh, wait, I do have some choice here. Or I got to pause for a moment, and I have some clarity that's different or eye-opening versus what I had been experiencing and operating in before. So I think we just don't know. We don't know what we don't know. And until we know.
You buy the deep freezers that your grandmother bought.
That's it. And we struggle through it because, I done a million times had my fingers numb trying to find and, not having enough room and and all the things. And we will struggle and suffer and sacrifice through it, even when it's not making sense also.
When, we think that there's no other way.
Right. And we don't know that it can be better.
Right. And that it's always available to us. And that's what I hear you saying too. We were born sovereign, right? We were born sovereign. That is a part of who we are. But yet we've allowed the conditioning, the autopilot, the, other people's expectations and paths for us to prevent us from seeing the truth.
And that, for me, I believe that's the natural cycle of life. I believe that's part of the purpose of life, is to move through that process. We're designed that way as human beings. And I believe it's, there's some thoughts around how it's important that God wants us to choose God, that that's why we're sovereign. So perhaps we're sovereign because the conscious connection and reconnection and plugging in with God in that divine force is the purpose, is the journey and purpose of life. So that conditioning is not bad. It's just part of the process. And it's when you think about duality, can you have sovereignty if you don't have also that conditioning, right? You need both. Like you need, otherwise it's just living, right? It's not tapping into this greater creative power, conscious creative power that we have and that we are. So you kind of need the other side of the coin of being on autopilot and being externally conditioned and driven to know that you can actually choose, and to not even know that you can choose, but to have it be a choice. So I hear this, I don't know the man's name. He talks about it about virtue, where he's like, is it virtuous if there was no temptation and, what we would call negative experiences, would doing good or being good be virtuous? You have to have the other side of the coin to actually create and experience the peace that we're talking about. So
yeah, it reminds me of like Abraham Hicks often talks about contrast, and that, if things were great, in order to feel the expansiveness and the depth of joy, we need to experience pain and trauma and these other considered negative emotions in order for us to experience life most fully, in order for us to experience the various emotions and experiences and the depth of joy. Can the depth of joy really be experienced if we haven't felt loss, if we haven't felt
Mm.
pain? Whew.
Mhm.
It's all part of life. You know,
Yeah.
like the truth of life is there are external forces that will try to define you and try to drive you to do what they want you to do. I don't care if it's your parents, your kids, your job, that's true. There are going to be forces in life that are trying to control what you do. And you still have the power and the, determination, self-determination to determine and choose what you actually want to do, who you're actually going to be. So
Mhm.
you're right. I believe there is absolutely a cosmic element of it. And that piece plays out technically in real life. There's a lot. When you wake up and walk through the day, all kinds of things are asking you to be what they want you to be and do what they want you to do.
Sure.
So you
Yeah.
have to exercise and practice this sense of self-determination and choice in the face of that, to be
Mm.
sovereign.
I think about, I love the word, and I've adopted the word myself, and I'm actually a part of, and we'll have to share the notes, but Radiah has this program called Sovereign, and we meet monthly. She creates this amazing, brilliant newsletter that goes out monthly. We have a community where we can connect with the other members of Sovereign. And I'm always playing with this word, Radiah, because I like to think, for me, that's like the goal.
Mm,
And maybe I don't operate in this place of sovereignty with all areas of my life, but I would love to.
yeah.
And then life happens. Like you talked about this external piece of things that are out of our control.
Mhm.
You've even used this analogy, and you probably could explain it a little better than me, but it's, if life were an ocean, right? And it's this powerful force that's in flow, we could see ourselves as a jet ski with the ability to drive, right? We can drive, and a jet ski has power to drive amongst this other powerful force.
Mhm.
And I think about, yeah, I got a jet ski, but then maybe there's another jet ski coming and another, something else in the water. It's all kinds of things. How am I maintaining my sovereignty with all of these other things going, in addition to this powerful ocean of life that I'm trying to navigate through?
So first of all, that wasn't a random analogy. I was on a jet ski, like literally looking at like, okay, I'm trying to drive this thing, but these waves are waving. And so
Mm.
I need to catch the rhythm here in the sweet spot between my driving and, accelerating on the jet ski and riding these waves that I have no control over. So it made me think about life in that way, that we have a powerful form, our body, our mind. And our spirit and energy, and we're in the universe and existence of life, and how do we move, with so many forces outside of our control, but with so much power within us. So my goal isn't to be sovereign. I am sovereign. That's not my goal. I am sovereign. So I just accept that I am.
Mm.
I do have choice. I operate. That's the place to come from in life. And
Mm.
so my goals are things around the types of results, experiences, and impact I want to have in the different facets
Mm.
of my life. So my
Good.
goals are to eat the broccoli from my garden. My goals are to create a certain kind of relationship with my family members. Um, those are things that I'm up to, and I'm actively investing what I call my team, my time, energy, attention, money, and movement into. So my goal isn't to be sovereign. I am sovereign.
Mhm.
I know I am. Whether I'm exercising that or not in a point in time, I'm human like everybody, so not always. So my goals are those experiences, results, and impact I want to have in life. My standards, are the structures I put in place, the environment, how I keep my home, the calendar that I
Mm.
keep for myself. Like those are the standards that help me operate in ways that support my sovereignty, that remind me that I am sovereign. And then I take responsibility for noticing when I'm not,
Mm.
and getting back on the horse with it. So
Mhm.
sovereignty is just who I am. It's a way to be. And it's important to remember, for me, it's important to remember that I am sovereign. That ain't got nothing to do with, like, I just am. That's how I was born. I was brought here,
And
came here sovereign. Like that, just take that as a fact of your life. You came here sovereign. So now what do you want to do with that?
what, with this new magazine, Live Sovereign, what do you hope people will gain from it? What is it that you are hoping that people get from
Yeah.
experiencing it?
The way I'm so excited about this, what do I hope people get? So first of all, this is the process. I'm building this in real time, and it reflects a lot of what I've learned, a lot of what, we work on together, and what I've built, and what Dr. Ronnie and I have built, and my life, just the demonstration and the integration and the living of it. And so it's a whole lot in there right now. There's a lot of like, it's chock full. It's a digital magazine. There's, 12 months. Each month has a theme, and that theme for the month has a mixture of essays and articles, stories from my life, recipes, and stuff that normal magazines have just to entertain and make it fun, and an exercise, an actual element for you to implement what we're talking about into your real life. So I want people to live sovereign. I don't want you to know and learn about it. I mean, you can do those things too, but the point is not to know more or learn more. The point is to be in your life, whatever sovereign looks like, and that it's simple. It is not, it can be simple. Let me say it that way.
Yeah.
We as humans, we study all kinds of things, right? I read, I research, I learn, I study, I consume, but knowing things doesn't make the difference. There's a lot of things I know that I don't live.
Mm.
So
Run that back one more time.
Yeah.
there's a lot of things, and there's curveballs to it. Like, I know how to lose. I'm not losing weight right now. Now I can
Same.
perimenopause, and there are all the things, which is true and right. But so knowing isn't what makes the difference. It's the first step. It gets you in the game, but the game is to live it. And so through Live Sovereign, I want people to actually live sovereign. I want that to be the place that we come from in our lives, in every area, in our relationships, in our health, in the work that we do, in the impact in our parenting. What does that look like? So I want people to get clear about that. I want them to define that specifically, set that standard for yourself. And then I want you to commit and devote yourself to operating that way. That is, to me, the keys to the kingdom. Get the clarity, make it plain, right? Make the vision, see the vision, make it plain, and then hold yourself to that standard. That's it. And that's not about discipline. I want you to devote yourself to it.
Talk about the difference. Hold on. I want to pause there. What is the difference between discipline and devotion?
I was and discipline's not a bad word, y'all. This is really just my, I used to do a podcast with a couple of friends, and we would choose a word. And one day we chose discipline. Shout out to Laura and Angela. And I was like, I reject that word.
Reject it. I don't need it.
I feel like I do too.
I do.
It's not bad. I get it. I do get it. And it's valuable. It's just challenging. It makes it challenging. And I don't think it has to be that way. So, and it's valuable. Y'all don't hear me saying that. Like, I love Kobe Bryant, all of these, different people that talk about the power of discipline, and it is powerful. But, for me, in the way I want to live every day, that feels like forcing myself to do what I don't like to do, with some noble judgment and justification around it. And that just doesn't work for me. It doesn't inspire me. It doesn't call me forward. It just makes me stop at a lot of times, resist, and overthink things. So this is a good part of sovereignty. You just get to define words the way you want, the way they work, and determine how they work for you. But so for me, discipline is that. It's like, hey, you have to do the hard thing you don't want to do because you should, because that's noble, that's right, that's going to get you what you want. Whereas devotion is, it causes me to get to the source and tell the truth about what I really want and what I'm really committed to, who I'm really willing to be about what I want, and then give myself to it. So it's not forcing my default conditioned self to do something it doesn't want to do. I'm tapping in with devotion to the essence of my true self. And I'm giving myself, offering myself to something I want. And I'm telling the truth about that. And I'm taking ownership and responsibility for that, to say, if I say I want something, then I'm going to be a certain way about it. Or else, do you really want it? Do I really want it? And that's okay. I don't have to want it. But I get out of all of it just clears the way for the simple few truths about what I really do want, me, the essence of me really wants, and determining what I'm really willing to give myself to. That works for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the essence, that's such a powerful concept to really tap into, like the essence of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if we always think about that, right? I know a lot of times in your work, Radiah, you talk about when we say, something, I'm doing something, or I'm this way, or whatever it is, and you talk about, well, what part of you is actually making that declaration?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm wondering, how do we even know, right? Like, how do we know what is truly at the essence of who we are? Like what we really want, like what's at the core of that? And how do we even determine, like, is it some part of me that maybe I'm not even conscious about that wants this thing?
Yeah. So and I actually get that from Dr. Ronnie, that she'll always be like, and who is the I you're talking about? Right.
Yeah.
Because it is this like piercing thing that pulls you back to like, I'm just talking. And I'm
Yeah.
not even thinking about all these I's and ams that I'm throwing out there about myself. But the answer for me to that, Myra, in terms of how do I know, I play. It's not something to think about. We're very intelligent, we're very intellectual, very educated. I'm very cerebral. I'm an engineer by degree. There are all these things that I can analyze and unpack and deconstruct. But how do I know is when I actually play with it. So I try things and I pay attention to how it works for me, how I feel. And I'm accountable, which means when I'm paying attention, I learn something and I apply it. So as an example, in the work that we do, we work with a lot of clients and we do a lot of programs, and I play different parts in the programs, whether I'm facilitating or training or teaching or coaching. And over the years going through, okay, we don't know. We want a business. We're trying to grow this business. Yes, we're going to take this client. We're going to do this program. Here's how we're going to structure it. Then we get into the program and be like, I don't never want to do this again.
Nope.
And then you just go, okay, I'm going to complete what I started, right? I'm going to meet my commitment, and then I'm not going to propose this one again. And so that's, to me, the playing. For me personally, who I am, and I've shared this, it's in my book, but I am life-changing love. That did come to me from, my father asked me that question. I was going on and on about life, and he was like, who are you? And I had never thought about it. So in that first instance of, inquiry, I just sat still and I let actually the thoughts pass. So I stopped thinking about it and I let the thoughts pass. And then a lot of the noisy thoughts end up kind of settling. And then some deeper, more truer, more resonant thoughts start to arise. And then life-changing love, I heard it. I can even see it even right now because I can recall where I was sitting in my room. And it resonated as true. it just resonated. And there's a few times in my life where I've heard something or thought something, and I just determined this is true. I'm going to hold this as true. So I took that thought that came up, that idea, and it felt a certain way to me that I was willing to say, I'm going to hold this as true. And so that's, I knew, because resonance, we talk about truth, the three general forms of truth. Truth in the spirit is resonance. So spiritually, it felt true because it resonated. I felt an energetic buzz in my body that was telling me, oh, yeah. And then there's truth in science, which is evidence, typically. And so when I felt that in my spirit, I then started to act accordingly. So I opened myself up. Life-changing love, a lot was me acknowledging, embracing, and accepting that I do love very deeply as a person. In the past, that I would say caused me a lot of pain because I wasn't aware of it. It was unconscious. I wasn't responsible for that, but I had to just own that, the way I love is really intense and very deep. And I could try to change that, or I could embrace it. Let's see. But it felt true. And then I just had to learn what that meant. And I had to define that. And that came in taking different actions that were aligned with that. So I remember making a chart for myself that was about loving me. I make my doctor's appointments every month, every quarter, every year, annual. There were just these things that I knew if I was really life-changing love, then here's how I would operate. I would do these things. I wouldn't do these things. I would think these kind of things. I would carry myself, my body, my physical form in a particular way. I would subscribe to certain emotions. So I just became very much an owner of my internal pattern and my internal world and how I govern myself physically. And through that, I learned, and that's the play to me, is just take on a few things and start applying them and see what happens. And then adjust it, and then do it again and do it again and do it again. And what you'll find is then you start to expand through that process. The you that you declare, the real, because you're putting your energy, that team, that time, that energy, that attention, that money, and that movement into this you, for me, life-changing love, and creating that in the world. So I'm hoping, I always hope it's so practical to me. I try to be as literal as possible when I talk about it, because I believe that it sounds so simple that sometimes people don't believe that really makes a difference. But in my world, that has made all the difference. That has made all the difference in my entire life. I always say it saved my life, and not the life I was living. It saved the life that was waiting for me. It made that life available to me. The life that I envisioned, the life that my heart and my soul desired, call it the life that God has for me. Like, it made that life, it saved that life. Because living the other way, I would have probably sabotaged that life.
As I'm listening to you, it something that's coming to mind is how many people will not decide to take the charge because it's easier to be unconscious. Or I'm sorry, they believe it may be easier to be unconscious, to be able to blame other people for why they're not living the lives that they want to live, because it's easy to point the finger. And what you're saying is you were born with access to all of these things. All of these things are choices. And there is a responsibility, a self-accountability that is revealed with even the concept of you could have the life that is sovereign. You could live sovereignly.
It's a tough one because, as I mentioned, this is what I believe is part of the purpose of life. Is returning to that sovereignty. It's taking up the mantle of that sovereignty in whatever you're here to bring and experience in life. that's the point for all of us. In my world, that is really the purpose, goal, point of the life that we've found ourselves in, is to step into that truth. And it's challenging in the way of, you don't know what you don't know. So there's got to be something that
Mhm.
pops the bubble of awareness that gives you some kind of access to it. So even if I think about myself as, the way I grew up, like a lot of Black folks, we lived in a community, we lived in the projects, but we had a lot of extended family around, and we didn't have a lot of money, clearly. And then my father married my stepmother, and I was exposed then to a different family dynamic, a different socioeconomic experience. And I didn't know all this, as a kid, but I started to see different things. And there was a lot of duality in seeing, like, some poverty situations and some really affluent situations. And that exposure, like, who knows how my life would have gone if I didn't have that exposure to some alternate ways of living
Mm.
that, you know, that gave me now some access. I also lived in a beach town where a lot of very educated and wealthy people vacationed or had second homes. So when I was waiting tables of, with people that had these big families and a lot of money and, a lot of business success. So, so a big part of, Kylie, what you're saying, we do have that choice. We don't always have that awareness or that consciousness or that exposure or that access. So those of us that do have the awareness and the exposure and the consciousness and the access have got to keep bringing what we know into spaces, because those bubbles will get popped in that way. That's a way to bring us together. That's a way to fulfill on, I know for us, our purpose,
Mm.
to expand that consciousness so that more people have the awareness of this and will choose it. So there's the awareness first, and then the choice. Although we have it, if we're not aware of it, we can't use it.
Mm. So much is coming up. I'm like doing this deep
always,
reflection,
right?
yes, of my own life. And I was like, ooh, that's probably what's happening there. Ooh, yeah, I can see that.
Mhm.
It almost came like, what came to mind, Radiah, is to whom much is given, much is required or expected. But then I felt a little reluctance in myself. Like, I heard it, and I would say that I am someone that has been exposed, someone that has, been given much. I am conscious, and there's a little reluctance, and I'm going to try to put into words maybe what I felt, if it helps someone. But I heard, man, I've got to do all this work on myself. I have to, take the responsibility, the self-acceptance, the self-awareness,
Mhm.
do the things. And then in addition to holding myself, I need to now go and hold others. And it's the work I do. I've accepted it, but there was a little reluctance when I heard, that is like what we're now supposed to do. Because I also think in my mind, I was like, I'm doing this work, and then others will also have the ability to gain their consciousness and awareness. But it sounds like it takes people that are aware to now go unlock it for others. Is that?
I mean, that's part of how it happens. But here's the thing I'm hearing in what you're saying, Myra, which is, the question I want to ask is, why are you separating yourself so much, right? So that's just the straight question, because that feels like I got to do this, and then I can go do this over there with them, right? So the amount of separation you see and put between yourself and others, then it's literally almost like an engineering lever. It then makes doing those other things heavier and more weighty.
Mm,
So if I say that differently, the way I see it is that is part of my life.
mm,
Like, I don't get to be me if not then also doing those particular things or adding or bringing myself, like helping to expose or giving access to other people is my self-expression. It has both of those functions. So I just am being me. I'm not taking care of me and then go doing something for somebody else. I'm not that special, like I'm me, and in being me and more me, there's this effect that occurs. There's this awareness that is created. There's this expression that gets reverberated out. I'm just being me and doing what I love in a way that is open and available to others. And then it demonstrates for them another option.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah.
good.
And that is a big flip. We don't believe that if we just be us, that will be enough.
Yes.
Still, you ain't got to go do all these things.
I mean,
You're doing
yes.
inside of who you are, not just out there just doing.
Yes.
No
Good
sense.
Lord.
And I'm sitting here thinking about, we even talked about this in the first episode, I believe, of this season, Myra, about the blocks that we have both had in our callings with being the light, right? With being out front. And so I'm sitting with that. I'm sitting with, how we have both had some challenges with really being out there or putting ourselves out there, and even using that language. I'm realizing, ooh, there's something behind that too.
The performance, putting yourself, what self are you putting out there in front of you to do the performance?
Versus just being who we are, just being the full expression of who we are. That's all. That's all this moment is asking for.
And that's expansive. Like the other thing I think about and I share is that, I'm life-changing love. That is what came to me. And I have defined that specifically. What does that mean for what I believe, think, feel, emote, do, and don't do in the different areas of my life, how I live, it governs that, like all of that. And that's not all that I am either. That's enough of a container, a naming, some language that allows me to then have some agency, because we live in real time and space as human beings. So getting that clarity, and I'll use defining loosely. Defining that gives me a structure to operate in, to live, to create, to work, to impact, to do, to experience in. But I'm always clear that ain't just all I am either. In any moment, who knows what the moment might call forward in me. And that is sovereignty, to be able to choose. And that's authenticity as well. Right? We often think authenticity is being some one particular way all the time. They authentic, they always that. And it's like, no, authentic to a human being, then to be able to show up in any way at any moment, because that is the God-given, universe-given existence that we have. That in 1 minute I'm mad, 1 minute I'm excited, 1 minute I might be, a jerk. The next minute I'm kind. Like, that is the nature of our existence. So think more of yourself. Like we talk about in the work we do is identity-led transformation. And identity is about the idea, the thought that you carry of yourself. So I'm just saying, think more of yourself.
I think I just got so much clarity on being versus doing. And for those listening, Radiah is the author of Being is the New Doing. And I think every time I read it or have some encounter with the concept, I learn something new. And as we talked about the reluctance I was feeling, and Kailei, you added on to that, I'm thinking about the weight maybe that I was feeling, and the reluctance there was some performative piece to it. There was a lot of doing, right? Before I settled in and accepted the being, like, who am I? Who am I? And then just be that, just show up that way, versus trying to do all the things and be, like all the things, right? I think that was the reluctance. In my mind, I immediately went to, man, that's heavy and that's hard. And that's a lot of work to do my work and then go help others do theirs.
Yeah.
That's not what you were saying.
Mm-mm. It's all connected. Like you will do plenty of things being you,
Yeah.
right? And those things will be, you will do probably more things being you because you have more capacity because you're coming from a grounded, clear, and centered space because your primary grounding is in things that are sourceful and generative for you. So you'll have more capacity. You'll have a greater consciousness. You'll have bigger thoughts and ideas. You'll have better connections and influence. And so you'll have more capacity just from connections versus thinking that we can separate ourselves and shut parts of ourselves down and we're going to do a whole lot. Like it's very backwards in my view, but I know that's what we're conditioned. That's,
Yep.
shut this part of you down, give me and produce what I need to exploit you.
Right. And extract from you.
Yes.
Ooh.
I just need that part. See, the places and people that we're beholden to don't need and want all of us. They want the part that benefits them. And if we orient our lives to that, which is what we're doing, whether it's a job, a partner, a child, you know what I mean? Like they want, and again, and I say, y'all know, I say people gone people, and I'm people too. You just got to accept this about people and what we live in. It doesn't mean we allow it. It doesn't mean we agree with it. It doesn't mean we enable it. But we do need to acknowledge and accept that there's a way that people kind of function. There's some ways, let me say, that people roll, companies roll, children roll, and they're just being them. You're the only one not being you. Wondering why you at the effect of everything in your life.
Yes, out here tired,
Sacrificing, struggling.
Oof. All at that lower end of the intention scale.
I remember it's making me think of when I was a waitress and there's, I have multiple tables in my section. So I'm going to every table they want this, they need the pancake. I worked at a Perkins, y'all, Perkins pancakes. But I was a good waitress, taking all the things, right? That's one way to do it, taking all the things. And this isn't shaming that from the perspective of there's some value in doing. You learn a lot of different things. My husband and I often talk about running businesses. You do a little bit of every part of the business so you understand how it all works. So there's doing in that sense. But then there's a point where now I can sit back in the kitchen and I can cook. And I can cook all the things I want to cook. And then people can come and they can get whatever dishes of what I cook they enjoy. As opposed to I'm running back to somebody over here and then running out to 15 different tables out there. That's exhausting. And I'm a transactional mechanism in the game, as opposed to, wait a minute. First of all, I don't even like this food like that. Here's the kind of food I like. Here's what I want to cook. And so here's how I'm going to do that. And the people that need this will come, and people who enjoy and like and prefer this will come to that, and they will get what they need. And I'm doing my part. And there's still plenty to do. I'm cooking, I'm buying groceries, I'm doing whatever, there's still a lot of doing, but that can't be the leader for human beings. You can't be the leader of you as a human being.
That's making me think of something that I saw. I think it was on Threads, maybe. This woman was talking about how she saw her mother and her grandmother and all the matriarchs in her family for every big meal, whether it was Christmas or Thanksgiving, they always ate last. And that the grandmother, she asked her grandmother, like, why do you eat last? And she said, oh, well, I want to see everybody else enjoy the food. Like, I'm making it for them. But then she realized when she started doing it, there was like one piece of cold turkey, half a scoop of mashed potatoes that were cold, nothing. Yes. And what she decided was that she was going to make herself a fresh serving of everything. And that she was going to change the trajectory for her daughter and her family lineage by eating first, because she poured the love into it. So she should be able to enjoy it.
Yeah. Here's what stands out to me in that, Kailei, is it's what works for you. If
Right.
eating last really
Right.
truly is something fulfilling and right, then great, great. It's not right or wrong to eat first or
Yeah.
last. Because what I want for all of us and what I practice is, what is it for me? What
Yeah.
is it for me that works for me? The me that I know is expansive, the life-changing love, the sourceful me. What is that for me? And who's to say what it is for anyone else? But at least that woman, when she shifted it, was able to, at least, like we talked about, give the people around her exposure and access to another option.
Yeah.
And that's the consciousness. It's like the awareness of what works for me, and that whatever works for me belongs here, has place here, and is fine. It's enough, and it's sourceful, and it's good. There's not a right way. There's not a wrong way. There's your way. There's my way.
Yeah,
We're-
because my way, it, it's not cooking at all.
That part.
I'm talking
There you go.
That's what I'm
There
talking
you go.
That's it.
I'm not doing a whole Thanksgiving
Period.
meal, y'all. No.
That's
Yeah.
right. Let somebody else do it or cater it.
Amen to all of those.
Yes, because those things are extensions of our identity. Like a part of my identity is in being a matriarch. There's something about that was valuable to me in my life experiences, many things about that. And there's things around that I hold personal pride in, feeding and nurturing and preparing. And, my family jokes me all the time, because we might all be making sandwiches, but they want to see what my sandwich look like, because they know. You know what I mean?
It's gonna be
It's gonna
good.
be good.
I saw Radiah make Caesar dressing from scratch on a Zoom call, and when I tell
On
y'all,
a Monday.
and then she panned her camera over to show us the kale that she was gonna go pick out of her garden and put in that fresh kale Caesar wrap. It looked so amazing.
The flavors were good. I found some sourdough croutons I had with basil, parmesan, and garlic, and I crushed it. Oh, it was good. It was good. So yeah, so clearly, right, there's a preference and an affinity that I have towards cooking and preparing and serving. I was a waitress, right? Like these things aren't as coincidental or random as you might want to think. And so for me, it depends. Sometimes I'm gonna eat first, because I'm like, Thanksgiving. Listen, at my house, we eat Thanksgiving around 11:30 in the morning. Because
Wow. Hold up. When are you starting to cook?
That part, Kailei.
Well, we got it down to a science. Calvin cooks the turkey and whatever meats, if we have other meats. And then I usually cook the greens the day before, because they're always better on Thanksgiving. Mac and cheese is my thing. I do it like we got it down. It's so funny. I think about when we built this house, we moved into it, and a lot of my family would come for Thanksgiving. The kids were really little, and it did seem like a full production, but we've been here in this house almost 20 years. So it's like, okay, cook the mac and cheese, cook this, like, let's go. And by 11:30, we'd be rubbing. So we all eat at the same time in that sense. And then sometimes I will eat last, because maybe I made something new that I never made before, and I'm watching. I'm curious about the reactions. I'm also tasting while I'm cooking, usually, and then sometimes, it just varies. But it's a symbol, I think, or an expression of how I see myself, the idea, my identity, right? Who I am to myself. And then what I make that mean, that's what's driving my behaviors. And the key is to not be sacrificing, not be doing or having behaviors that are so subconsciously driven or unconscious that you're actually sacrificing your experience of life in the moment. So if eating last is sacrificial to you, then there are other ways, there are other options.
And what I hear at the base of that, Radiah, is knowing who you are, like to even know what you want, right? It's knowing who you are and being aware of that.
Yes, that's it.
Oh, well, I know we could talk for hours. We could talk for hours. And there are more gems
Hours.
to be. We do talk for hours usually. Yeah. Usually voice memos back and forth.
That's right.
Mhm.
Is the love language of the
Yay.
decade right now.
It is.
For
Mhm.
real. One thing that we've been doing in each of these episodes is leaving everyone with some growth work, something that they can do over the next week to implement some of what was included in this discussion. So
Yeah.
what is some of the growth work we can give some energy to this week?
What's right there for me is let me gift the first issue of Live Sovereign that actually has a worksheet in it
Mm.
for you to declare who you are, right? For you to actually just start with the declaration of who you are. So I'll give you a link.
Brilliant.
I'll send you a link. You can send the link out, and everybody can enjoy that issue and do the growth work that's already in there. That's
Beautiful.
Brilliant. It ties everything together because I really believe I want to do that activity again to reconnect.
Good.
I love it.
And then we will also include in the notes for the episode how people can subscribe to Live Sovereign and get their lives together.
And it's my baby. It is the work thing that I am pouring the most of myself into. I will say that. Because I have so many thoughts and downloads, as we call them, and so much comes through me in just the simplest of things, and I haven't had a place to capture them and share them. And this, for whatever reason, has just been so natural and such a beautiful way to capture and share them. So I'm loving it. It is absolutely my personal expression of the things I've experienced and learned that I want to share. So
Of life-changing love.
yes, it is.
Love. Well, thank you, Radiah. Oh, such a gift, such a gift, such a gift.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
This is beyonding.
This is beyonding. This is beyonding.
And becoming. Remember we said that beyonding?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. Oh, well, until next time, be well.
Be well, y'all.